Okay.
You ready? We'll go.
I think so. All right. Okay, hello. I am Nia, and I'm here to talk about dolls in the African American community, and I'm going to talk about their history and some of my early research and how it connects to my broader PhD work. And my PhD is about Black women's imagination and what happens when we cultivate a space designed to tell our own stories. So first, these are examples of dolls from different cultures in Africa. Dolls across the continent can serve different purposes. They can be used for play or for teaching or for spiritual practices. And I highlight them because these traditions didn't disappear in the diaspora. They just evolved and shaped how dolls were considered in Black American communities. And I also want to talk about American-made dolls, ones that are not made by the Black community en masse. Many of these dolls were blatantly racist well into the 20th century and were marketed toward white consumers. But by the 70s and 80s, Black dolls were less overtly racist. But in my opinion, many still lacked nuanced representation of the community. And I think that the African American approach to dolls is a direct response to this history in the sense that we're reclaiming our image in a way that's not just not racist, but one that actually captures the diversity and nuance of Black identity. And I think that these designs are rooted in the African American perception of self and what could be. So then I asked myself, why am I so obsessed with dolls? And one reason is because I just really enjoy playing with them. I like the tactility and the customization, and I like identifying their personas. And I like the kind of selfish joy that they provide me with, where it's just doing something that makes me happy. But I also love dolls as an object because I like thinking about the history of an object and the kind of power that it can hold and what it can say about a society. And it's amazing that dolls appear across cultures and they are literally ancient. And it feels like such a beautiful, connective human thing that's not limited by space or time. And so Black dolls in particular capture my interest because it's the environment I came from. Yes, that is me. And it's an environment that was made with intention because my dad was very deliberate about making sure I had majority Black dolls. And because I was an only child for 14 and a half years, I had a lot of dolls. And I'll never forget the first time that I saw a Barbie that really looked like me. And she wasn't just like a white Barbie tinted brown. She actually had like a round nose like mine, and she was short. And a few years later, I saw this Barbie with all her gardening stuff. And for the first time since I was a kid, I thought about gardening. And these moments got me thinking about how an object can spark inspiration and self-reflection and community connection when that object is genuinely conceived with the community in mind. And I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to research this? And I thought a good place to start was with my own family. So my mom has like a huge Barbie collection. She's been collecting since the 80s. And these are some of her more recent ones. And it's amazing to think about like the different changes in physical features and fashion and careers, and knowing that each of these mass-produced dolls has like a very specific story as it relates to her and her own life experiences. I also talked to my grand aunt, who has about 20 baby dolls that creeped all of us out when we were kids. And when talking to her, she says she didn't intend to like build a collection. She just kind of saw them and thought they were cute Black dolls, and she didn't grow up with Black dolls. She only had white baby dolls. So this is a thing that kind of sprung out of her adulthood. And then this is my grandma and my great-grandmother. And my grandma, she makes these little dolls, and their designs are kind of just based on what she's feeling and what fabric is around. So it's kind of like the emotion and the materials inform the actual object. And notably, she said that every doll gets a special name because she was thinking about how a lot of enslaved people had their names forcibly changed. So like the naming of the doll is important. Which is why for me, it's a really big deal to see your name when you have, an ethnic name on a mass-produced item. And in that last one, me and my giant Barbie had a matching outfit. So that's what's going on in that last picture. So these were some of my favorite dolls. And overall, I don't remember having a lot of career or lifestyle Barbies. A lot of my Barbies were mermaids, they were fairies. If they were a dancer, they were specifically from the Barbie version of the Nutcracker Ballet. Or they had some kind of gimmick like built-in lights that glow underwater or hair that could grow like Rapunzel if you pull a string. And I find it really interesting thinking about the different ways our imaginations can be activated through more or less the same basic form of a doll. And so then there's like my own personal interest in paper dolls as well, which I did not intend to collect, but my mom told me to get something from the gift shop at the museum. So I picked these because I thought that they looked cool. I liked the fashion. And this is where my paper doll collection is now. And you can see it's overwhelmingly white, which is a problem because a lot of these books are about times and places where people of color existed. They're like rooted in history, and they often include historical context about the time period and clothing, but it's super weird to not have any other race or body type or anything in those books. So I'm like, okay, I'll just make my own. So I decided to design my own paper dolls with Black people of different body types and skin tones and lifestyles. And as part of the series, embracing the power of imagination. It could be a historical perspective or symbolic or fantastical. And I also wanted to note how in my dolls, when I design them, they don't have facial features. And I think it's because I kind of just grew up around this kind of art. A lot of African American art, for whatever reason, doesn't involve facial features in the figures. So I think I just absorbed that visual language passively. And once I recognized that, now I have the power to use that visual language with intention. And so overall, I feel like this ties into my thoughts on designing with the community in mind regarding aesthetics and function, but also research, because it's not just being inspired by a community or respectful of a community, it's really engaging with that community's languages and building that into your approach at every step of the way. So at the start of all this, I mentioned that my research is on fantasy and the power of Black women's imaginations. And in short, the visual component of my PhD will be some kind of doll, but I'm interested in how engaging with my community in our various languages might redefine what a doll can be. So are dolls limited by appearance or function or size or material? Where's the line between a figurine and a doll? What about a photograph or a performance? Can a dance be a doll or can a poem be a doll? I do not know, but I look forward to exploring. And thank you. That's all I have.